Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. This is a post-match reaction. Chelsea and Manchester United have just played out a 0-0 draw at Stamford Bridge. Very frustrating result. And before we get into the major thoughts, you might be wondering, Karthik, it's been a while since I've seen you. We missed you. We love to have you back. We got bored of the other guys. Yeah, you're definitely not saying that. It's good to be back. I'm happy to be here. My internet is now no longer on dial-up. I'm using a potato now, so we've upgraded. I'm joking. I haven't actually done much to my internet. Hopefully it's a lot better. If not, Mark's in the background to take over. We won't need Ben to come save the day. He's just moved house, so we don't want to do that to him. Anyway, I'm trying to talk about anything other than the result, because it was a little bit disappointing, wasn't it? I said at full time that it's getting a bit annoying where we're winning games that maybe we don't necessarily deserve to win, and we've had to scrap for it a little bit. And then you have games like this where you think, you know what, we actually played all right in periods, and you could argue that we were a bit more balanced in this game than some of the games that we've won this season. So it does leave a bit of a sour taste. It felt like a game of two halves for me. The first half, it was quite balanced. It's quite open. I thought there were chances for either side. I thought we were all being very positive. There was a lot of intent to go and attack. We weren't really allowing Chelsea to play their whole possession game. They were pressing well, but we were actually playing games on our terms. And then the second half came and they started to dominate a little bit more. Now, I don't know whether that had anything to do with Hudson-Odoi coming off for Reece James. Maybe that gave them a little bit more balance. I'm not sure. But it just felt different in that second half. And it felt as though Chelsea had more of a grip on it. And United struggled to get into it. And when we did wake up, we had a couple of good chances. We obviously had the save from Mendy, from McTominay. We had the Fred effort, which was hilarious to see, by the way. But you know what? You get those chances in a game. If you take them, happy days, you're winning. If you don't, you look at it and you go, you know what? Do we really deserve to score those chances? And if you look at it overall, you have to say, I don't think United deserved to win that game. And I don't think Chelsea did either. So a draw is probably a fair result. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. We'll get some guests in a minute. Jacob's in there. He says, enjoyable game, played the right way. Happy we didn't lose and let Chelsea gain ground. Thought McTominay struggled a little bit throughout the game. I'm not sure the right way, and I don't know if I agree with that completely. I've got a few guests in the backstage shaking their heads already, and I do agree with them. I'm not sure I agree with that. But I agree with the McTominay thing. I thought him and Fred, they struggled towards the end of the game, and we gave the ball away very cheaply. But we'll get into all that as we go on. Ashley says, how many times do one of these big sides look there for the taking and United just aren't ruthless? Precisely that. You've got the commentary mentioned it a couple of times as well, where we faced these teams, we've looked all right, we've had a few chances, and they look a bit vulnerable, and we just haven't punished them. We just have to get better at that, and that has something to do with our attack. It looked like our attack could use a bit more depth. That's a discussion for another time. Boring, sheety game. United was afraid. Afraid of what? We didn't look very afraid, I don't think. Do you think Dan James should start Premier League games? It depends on the opposition. It's got to be based on opposition for me. Had to go and try to win the game. Well, I think we did do that. I don't think we set up not to win the game. I don't think any team does that. But anyway, you three who are not on YouTube, get on YouTube now, youtube.com/allforunited. Come join us there. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you are subscribed as well. And of course, help us reach the 20 like target. If we get to about, I don't know, we'll let one of the guests decide what the target's going to be. And speaking of guests, let's get the first one on. Temmie is here pondering away at these comments. Let's see what he has to say. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I felt like I just watched. I was very bored. I'm not gonna lie. That was a boring game. Very.
Do you think the boring thing was a case of did they cancel each other out, or do you think it was lack of intent and lack of tempo?
No, I don't think it was a lack of intent. Definitely not a lack of intent for me. I thought, there was effort there. I just thought the passing was poor. Like, I really think the passing was poor from everybody. There was a couple times Bruno had opportunities to play Rashford in. It didn't work out for him. I thought Fred and McTominay in the middle of the park. I think I would say Conte and Kovacic won that battle, even though they weren't particularly good. And I think this was an expected result for me. Like, I did think this was going to be a 0-0, 1-1 type of game. But even then, going as a fan, you have that hope and you have that want to kind of see something different. And we had chances, like you said, we did have chances, but I just think the quality, there was a lack of quality today across the pitch, even though there was intent, there was effort, but there was just a complete lack of quality from most of our players today. And I see a comment here that says midfield is missing Paul Pogba 1,000%. Like, I know that, he's a very controversial figure, but it's hard to replace that level of quality in the midfield. Like, the things he can do, like, creatively, what he does, his passing in comparison to Fred and McTominay is just light years ahead. And obviously we have a lack of options right now in midfield because he's hurt. And we're picking from Matic, Fred, and McTominay. You know what I'm saying? But I just thought overall we were pretty poor in terms of quality and passing today.
You say we lack quality, and you say we're lacking, the option of Pogba and lack of options in midfield. I think we're all forgetting that, of course, Van der Beek's injured as well. And I was speaking to a friend that I was watching it with. Now, obviously, we know he's not fit at the minute, so he wasn't able to be selected. But let's face it, he probably wouldn't have played today anyway, even if Van der Beek was fit.
No.
Is this a game you think he would have suited?
Not in the middle of the park, not where Fred and McTominay are playing. I know a lot of people want to see him there. I don't want to see that personally. I think if you have someone in there who doesn't have a defensive mindset, Chelsea probably would have gotten way more chances. It's just a fact. And that's not shade to Van de Beek. I think he's a wonderful player. I just don't think he should be playing in a midfield too. You know what I'm saying? I saw a lot of people say, if Van de Beek's healthy, he should be playing in there with Fred. And I'm like, do you guys know? Hell no. We need sturdy, defensive-minded players in midfield, but we also need that level of quality as well on top of that. And I think a lot of people underestimate the defensive side of the game. I thought defensively today we were pretty excellent. I thought Harry Maguire was really, really good. I thought Victor Lindelof was excellent. I thought Luke Shaw defensively was pretty excellent, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So that side of the game, I thought I didn't think Chelsea did anything great. Like, they weren't, they had a couple of good chances, but we had a couple of good chances. I just think they were pretty abject, just the same way we were abject in terms of quality today. They couldn't put the pieces together. And we could have won the game if, we got a penalty that we should have had. So, I mean, maybe looking back in hindsight, I may be harsh right now because, it's fresh after a game and I'm emotional, but yeah, I just think it was, like I said, just a lack of quality again. I think that's the big takeaway from this game for me was a lack of quality across the pitch.
Yeah, and the final thing I wanted to get your thought on was you mentioned, again, the lack of quality is a great way to sum up this game because I think that's all it was. Up front, we had Mason Greenwood leading the line. Now, you're the best person to ask about this because of you're always backing Martial. What did you make of Greenwood, and how do you think it made that big a difference in terms of, Greenwood, Martial? Did you see a difference today?
Yes, and this isn't a slap. I thought Mason had a decent game. Like, out of the three front players, I think he had, he was the most lively, for lack of a better term. But again, in the number 9 position, in order for him to go and get the ball, he kind of had to drift into wider positions. Remember when who fouled him? Chilwell fouled him, right? And he was on the right hand side of the pitch. Chilwell got a yellow card. Green was operating in that position. Like, he has to kind of drift out in different spaces to kind of make an impact. Again, because with his back to goal, he's physically just not there yet. And that's not a shade to him or anything like that. I think we would have played better with Martial today only not because of the goals or anything like that. I know he's struggling. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But again, with his back to goal, he holds up the ball better than anyone else we have. It's just a fact. I genuinely don't think it's a debate. But that being said, Mason had okay, out of all the forwards, I think he had a good game. I would have liked to see him, on the right hand side today. Defensively, he's been way better. Like, he's improved so much this season defensively. So I wouldn't have minded to see him on the right side and have some defensive responsibility and contribute going forward. I think that would have made us a little bit more potent personally. Obviously, Mason eventually is going to be a number 9. That's his calling. That's where he's supposed to be in time. But right now, I think that he can do a job for us on the right hand side and provide a little bit more impetus than Dan James provided for us today. And that, again, that's not a slight on Dan James or anything. It's just, how I feel.
No, fair enough. All very good points. Any final thoughts from you then in terms of what we can do going forward to improve in terms of, in these big games as well, because it's another big game we've drawn.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be tough. Ollie needs to find a way to, get we need to pass the ball better. It's just we really need to pass the ball better. It sounds so simple and it sounds so like duh, you need to pass, but it literally that was our biggest issue today. In big moments where we had maybe chances to create more opportunities, our passing let us down. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that's an Ollie thing or the players need to step up. Obviously, we're gonna have healthier players. When Paul comes back in the middle of the park, he's gonna give us a huge uplift. Hopefully, he's back and ready for the City game. Fingers crossed. I guess the final my final thoughts would just be officiating in the Premier League is awful. Absolutely miserable and awful because that was a penalty every day of the week, every single day of the week. And we just need to improve. We need to make sure our passing is better. And it will do us a world of good. It will do us a world of good. And I think that's where it is today. Just again, quality, and we could have gotten 3 points if the ref was smarter.
Yep, definitely. Thank you for coming on, Temi, mate. Always appreciate your opinions. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. And, of course, he's got some stuff brewing as well, so make ssure to keep tabs on him. Cheers, Temi.
Much love, bro.
Okay, I've just seen a very interesting comment, and it's actually quite annoyed me. I've not actually seen the quote yet, but I've been told from the backstage that Luke Shaw has just come out I assume it's a post-match interview. I don't know whether it was on TV or what it was, but apparently he's come out and quoted that the referee has just said, the referee has told Harry Maguire during the game that if he had given the penalty for the Hudson-Odoi handball, it would have caused a lot of talk afterwards, so he didn't give it. Excuse me? What? Any decision you make will cause talk after the game. How is that a reason to not give something? If every referee did that, no decision would be made. You just let the play carry on and people would be handballing it into the net. What a stupid... That's not a justification. You shouldn't be allowing some external, comments to influence your decision. That's just not right. Your referee is meant to be impartial. That's why you're there. You're meant to be impartial to anything else that goes around you and make a decision on your own. How on earth are you allowing that to influence your decision? Surely that's a complaint from United or Chelsea. I mean, how many other decisions did he make in the game that were affected by what would happen afterwards in the media? Now, of course, you can go and talk about the media side of it and say, well, if the media's, not chatting shit, then referees don't do it. No, but regardless, referees should not be affected by that. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, we'll bring in our next guest, who I'm sure will have something to say about this. John, how are you doing, mate? And what do you make of that, what I've just said?
I found it a shocking decision at the time, and I find it even more shocking right now, having heard that comment. I mean, as you said, you can't be making decisions and basing them on fear of what people might say afterwards. I mean, that's insane. And even more so with VAR, I think that just makes both the decision and that comment even more ridiculous. I was angry at the time, and I'm still angry now, if I'm honest. To be honest, I didn't even think it was it was just, there was no debate about it. It was just a clear penalty. When he was going to check it, I thought, okay. I mean, I wasn't even worried. Normally, you're kind of, you're up in the air, you're wondering. For example, the classic one was obviously the Paris Saint-Germain one about 3 years ago. You're sort of hoping and thinking it could go either way. I wasn't thinking like that today. I was thinking, okay, where's Bruno going to do it? Where's he going to put the ball? Where's he going to, what style is he going to take? And that was my main concern as to whether Bruno was going to, put it in the back of the net. I even saw the referee kind of gesture, and I thought, okay, I think that's a gesture for a penalty. And then it's like, oh, what? I mean, it's insane. What also bothers me is actually, I think the outcry will be reduced because there'll be so many, Richard Keys-esque type people out there that will be just going on about, well, they get most of them anyway. This wasn't a 50-50. I understand if it's a 50-50 or 60-40. This was 100%. This is Stonewall. The word Stonewall, the word stone and wall were invented for this particular decision today. Anyway, I guess you also want to talk about the game, which I'm also happy to do. But just finally, that comment from Luke Shaw, if it's true that the ref actually did say that to Maguire or someone else during the game, that just adds to the insanity of the decision.
It's completely ridiculous, and the comments are actually going at the referee as well. I mean, there should have been a penalty. There's a shout for someone having to, there should be a complaint if that is true. And there you go. There's Ashley says that. It is ridiculous. But of course, we don't like to blame the referees here. I don't like to do it personally. And it wasn't, it wasn't like it was a lack of chances afterwards. We had plenty of chances later on, and did you think that we missed a little bit of ruthlessness in the final third?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I think it was possibly more about creativity, perhaps, than it's not like we had 5 clear-cut chances or 2 or 3 even. I mean, I would probably say against Liverpool away, where there was some similarities between those 2 games, not just the result, but I think we probably had 2 golden chances to win that game. Back in the heady days when we were chasing the championship rather than Champions League spots. It wasn't that long ago. It was only like 7 weeks ago that we were. That's where we were 7 weeks ago, that we were sort of joint top, 3 points clear, etc., etc. Now we're kind of looking over our shoulder somewhat more. So anyway, but back to our creativity. It was, we didn't create amazing chances today. I think Bruno, as can happen with Bruno, and that's not a criticism of him. He's been unbelievable for the last 12 months. But yeah, I mean, Bruno just a couple of times, there was 2 or 3 counter attacks where the final pass, the final ball let us down. Bruno a couple of times, Dan James I think once. I think Cavani as well was a little bit missed today. I mean, I know I said we didn't create any chances, but their goalkeeper Mendy was spilling the ball left, right and centre. And, that's the second goalkeeper in a row now that I think Chelsea have got to think, look hard at themselves over regarding their purchasing. But he spilled it a couple of times, and you're thinking, where's the guy to tap the ball in when he's spilling it? Where's the guy to do that? And Cavani has an identical kind of goal against Fulham, a couple of months ago or 6 weeks ago, where he puts it in the back of the net after the goalkeeper spills it. You needed him there today rather than the front 3 that we probably had. I mean, of course, he was unavailable, so I'm not criticising Solskjaer for that decision. But, I thought Greenwood did okay. I mean, there was a couple of times when Fred had that shot from outside the box that, unbelievably, we thought, that's the Brazilian that we thought we were buying a couple of years ago, perhaps, in terms of sticking it in the top corner, because it was very close. Even Solskjaer sort of managed to laugh at that because it was almost a goal from Fred. And Greenwood as well was not far away. I think regarding Greenwood in the number 9 position today, I was pleased that when I saw the lineup, I wasn't sure if Rashford or Greenwood was going to be the number 9, and I was pleased that it was Greenwood. I think Greenwood really probably should have been given a run out at number 9, a while back. Really, it's been a while, coming, and I'd like to see a bit more of that, particularly in the cup competitions, for example, where we really can go for it in that respect, or at least take a chance or 2 on the lineup. I don't know how long is Ederson going to be out for, by the way.
Not a clue. I'm really not sure. I'll have to check later on. Not a clue.
So I don't think it's long term. So both him and Pogba hopefully will be back in the next week or 2. I completely agree that Pogba was missed today as well. But we can't complain about 2 players being out injured at the end of the day, because I think really over the whole season we've been pretty lucky with injuries and unavailabilities, if you like. So that's going to happen, and with a squad of our size, we've got to be good enough to overcome it. But this is another one of those games, one of those 0-0s really that we don't really deserve to win. Forget that horrendous decision by the referee. We didn't really do enough to win today. We didn't really do enough at home to Man City. We didn't really do enough away to Liverpool, perhaps, as well, to win those games, and Arsenal away as well. I mean, it's just another one of those 0-0s. I did see 1 or 2 people before the game saying it won't be 0-0. I actually thought it's got 0-0 kind of written all over it, and with every minute that passed, it seemed more certain.
Yeah, no, I fully feel you on that one. The final question I'll ask you then is similar to what I asked Temi. In these big games, we've seen us play decently. We've seen us, maybe lack a few chances. What do you think needs to happen going forward in these big games to turn these draws into wins? Because we're not losing these games. but we're not looking like we're set to win them either. What do you think is the key to that?
Listen, I'm not panicking. Far from it. I think losing at home to Burnley 13 months ago, or losing away at Newcastle 18 months ago, or how we sort of didn't make the Champions League a couple of years back. Those are times to panic, and I was panicking. I'm disappointed that we've not managed to push City a bit more this season, and including I think in a way our Championship challenge is probably represented quite largely by a lot of these 0-0s that we haven't managed to turn into victories. What do we need to do that? I think we need a player or two. I think I am concerned, of course, about Lindelof and Maguire as a back, as a central defensive pairing, and I know they probably get it in the neck, maybe perhaps more than, or Lindelof in particular. And I know there's a lot of people out there that want Bailly, but I like Bailly, and he's blood and thunder and all that, and that's excellent when you're playing Burnley away. But you also need to keep the ball a bit better when you're playing Chelsea and Liverpool and Arsenal. So I do see the Lindelof, Maguire. I understand why Solskjaer goes for that every time in these particular games. But basically, how do we solve this conundrum? Well, we've got Man City in a short, very soon. So I don't know if we've got enough to win these games right now. We need another player or two in the attacking third, or that can pose a threat in the attacking third, such as a Sancho, such as a Haaland, that could. I mean, I know it's a bit of fantasy football there when with mentioning those two players. I mean, I'm realistic enough to know we're not going to get both of those players this summer, but I do think someone that can unlock the door, or even just pull out that bit of magic that we know Rashford can do from time to time. But James, as much as I think James did fine today, he didn't look out of place as perhaps he did a few months back when he would come in for some of these games. I don't have an issue with James playing from time to time. So I think he deserved to start today. He certainly deserved to start ahead of Martial. So I don't have an issue with that. But I think going forward, I think it's all about the summer and taking that step to win some of these games. If we had a Sancho, for example, maybe Diallo is that guy. Maybe Diallo is that guy. We don't know. I'm actually pleased in a way that he's making the benches. I was thinking, given that he didn't play so often for Atalanta, I think he only played a couple of times for them before he joined us, that I actually wasn't sure if he was going to be getting any minutes already, but he is, in the Europa League. And I see him as well getting more and more minutes, and I see him now being an option from the bench. I wasn't even sure that he might even come on today for Dan James. So maybe we don't need Sancho. Maybe he's the guy, but it's obviously too early to say that. But that's what we need. We need someone special in that final third, because we can't rely on Bruno every game.
Fair enough. Fully agree with you. Thanks again for coming on. Always good to hear your opinions. You're very well spoken. You know what you're talking about. So thank you for joining us. Everyone, make sure to go and follow John and have a look at his book. I'm sure it's very good. John, I'm sure you'll tweet about it later on. Make sure everyone to go and check him out. Thanks for coming on, John.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Okie doke, that was two. We've got a couple more guests to come on. Before that, I want to get you all to like the video, because it's only 2 seconds. It's free. I think it's free. Hopefully, YouTube hasn't changed too much since I left. I say left. I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. Anyway, I'm going off topic. Today, I mean, there's a few talking points that we could still cover, and I think John touched on it a little bit, the Daniel James topic, and I'm going to ask our next guest about that. Connor, happy to have you on again, mate. Make sure you're unmuted, because you're still muted at the minute. Yep. What did you make of Dan James? That's the first question I'm going to ask you, because everyone was a little bit surprised that, how was he there? Did he really deserve that chance? And how do you think he took that chance? Because he has played well. He does look more confident. What did you make of him today?
I thought he was probably the best out of the front three, to be honest. I thought he tracked back very well. We know he's probably the best at tracking back, closely followed by Rashford. So his energy was the front three pressed very well today, and Dan James was a big part of that. Helped us get up the pitch a lot quicker. Obviously, we all know he's got the pace to get on the end of it. I would like to have seen him take on a couple more players. I know he did at the start of the second half. There was a couple of occasions he was up against Rudiger, and you think just knock that into the space and run onto it. Whether it's slightly short confidence, whether he didn't quite believe that he'd be able to get on the end of it, but it would have been nice to have seen him complete a couple more take-ons. But I mean, overall, I don't think many people could complain that he was in the starting 11. Like I said earlier, I think he was the best out of that front three. And like I said, he helped out Wan-Bissaka down that side with Chilwell, and Ziyech was pulling over there, and Giroud was pulling to that side as well. So he certainly did his fair share of defensive duties. So yeah, he was the right tool for the job. Like I said, I don't think he should be playing in every game, but when you've got a game like this, and the way it was actually quite surprising. I didn't think we would go for a pressing style. I thought we'd go with our, especially when you see Dan James, you assume that we're going to be sitting back and counter-attacking, but we didn't. We were pressing from the front, and that was good to see.
No, 100%. I agree with you. I thought Dan James did well. I'm surprised you said he was the best of the front three, because I think that's going to cause a bit of stir on YouTube comments and Twitter. But we'll see. Comments. Let's see what you've got to say. We've said we need to see more of Ahmad. I think it's a little bit soon on that one, but I'm sure we will see more as we go on. Rob, we've already commented on this. Make sure you rewatch the stream later on, but we did have a good chat on that. So thank you for joining us anyway. In terms of the defence, I want to talk to you about, because I don't think anyone will praise them as much as we should. John mentioned that they get a lot of stick, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. I mean, yourself and Victor Lindelof. But they played well today, and I thought they actually did well in terms of progressing the ball forward as well. We saw Maguire bring it out a little bit more. We saw Lindelof play a very good ball. I think it was to Rashford in the first half. What did you make of the defence?
I thought they were all pretty solid today. I mean, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw in the first half were playing almost past the halfway line. Like I said, with the pressing start we had, and Maguire, and there's a bit of a worry with that, because we know Maguire and Lindelof, when we've played a press, people don't think that, and I'm one of them, don't think that they can deal with that, but they dealt with it today. They were, because of how high the fullbacks were, they were the main defenders there, and I thought they dealt with everything, especially with Giroud. I think we were all worried when you see Giroud up against Lindelof, and you think, oh God, if we give away some silly free kicks, and we did towards the end, and we're starting to get a bit worried with despite the fact that Giroud was off at that point, the way we defend set pieces and corners, and these free kicks in and around the area. So they dealt with everything in the air. I thought Maguire was excellent again today. And Lindelof as well. I think that will probably go under the radar. Lindelof today, he got a couple of important blocks in. That touch probably should have been
the clearance was world class.
When he got ahead of Werner. I mean, that's very easy to put that in your own net. I think people just assume that that's an easy touch to make. That could quite easily have gone into the back of your own net if you're not careful. So yeah, I thought they all did pretty well. Wan-Bissaka going forward, I put it in the chat before we came on. I thought he put some brilliant balls into the box, and like I said, he was playing so high up the pitch. His attacking output was better today. So Luke Shaw was solid again. It's what you expect from Luke Shaw with his performances in recent times. So, like I said, Chelsea don't score that many, but we nullified them to a few chances.
Yeah, you mentioned the high line. I want to touch on that, because in the first, as I mentioned at the start of the show, it felt like a game of two halves where we played two different styles of football. I mean, the first half you mentioned, high line, we saw Maguire progressing, we saw Lindelof playing balls through, we were dealing with, Chelsea on the counter-attack. We seemed fine. And in the second half, it almost seemed as though we were forced back a little bit. What do you think changed that? Was it, a tactical change, or do you think it was a mentality switch? What caused the second half to feel so much different and Chelsea to sort of get control?
Potentially a mentality shift, certainly towards the end of the game. Potentially, I mean, I don't think it will be, but potentially think about the away record. Like I said, want to keep that going. Don't want to pick up a loss. And obviously, with Leicester dropping points as well earlier in the day, it wasn't as crucial that we got a win. Obviously, we all would have wanted to see that, but a point is not the end of the world. So maybe that was certainly towards the end of the game. And I think partially as well, the energy of McTominay certainly dropped off in the second half. Obviously, just coming back from an injury, so the fitness wasn't probably quite there. So whether you say maybe could have been taken out, but it does just seem like the energy just dropped off. Rashford's energy dropped off. I think that's what I said about Dan James. I think he was the only one out of that front three in the second half that was still trying to press from the front. Greenwood, Rashford, McTominay, those three players in particular, their energy just seemed to fall off a cliff in that second half. And I think that's why we stopped playing the high line, just to protect the defence a little bit more. So maybe it was a mentality shift, but I certainly think energy had a part to play in the second half.
Yeah, they did seem like there was a few tired legs. I know Luke Shaw looked a bit tired. Fred looked like he was a bit leggy as well towards the end. So fitness might have had something to do with it. A good question here. I mean, good question, good statement here in the comments. I hope you're going to talk about David De Gea. A normal save for him, but in reality, it's a very good save. You know, the commentary team at the start of the game said De Gea would have to be at his best today, and I thought we saw pretty much De Gea in his element, didn't we?
We saw the good and bad of De Gea today. There was a couple of shaky moments. There was a clearance that, it's a simple kick up field, or you play it to Maguire, where I think it went to Giroud and Giroud sliced the shot. And there was a couple of set pieces that Chelsea had that are dropping around a 6-yard box with not even a challenger. Nobody had run in, and De Gea just doesn't look like he's comfortable to come and collect it, which I think we all want him to do, and I think that would ease it for Maguire and Lindelof a bit more if they had goalkeeper behind him that would come out and get that. But I mean, that save was, the speed that was coming in at him to dangle your arm back. We've come to expect that from De Gea, haven't we, over the last 6 or 7 years? So, like the comment said, it's a normal save for De Gea, but not many keepers probably would have saved that. So I think we saw the good and bad of De Gea today. Made a couple of good saves, but still not command. And I don't think he's ever going to change this because it's the kind of goalkeeper he is. Still a couple of shaky moments in there that I don't think that he's going to be able to shake out of.
On that, then, the big debate has been over the last week or so, but it has been since the start of the season. Henderson, De Gea, where do you stand on that? Is that opinion changing over time, or is it sort of a fixed stance that you're on? What are your thoughts on it?
I said on a show about 3 weeks ago, and I still stand by this to an extent. I think De Gea is our best goalkeeper, but I think Henderson complements the team better than De Gea does. And what I mean by that, I think everyone knows that Henderson's a bit more commanding. And like I said, I think Maguire looks better when he's got a goalkeeper behind him. Kasper Schmeichel comes, we've all seen him at Leicester when Harry Maguire was there. Maguire's always had that goalkeeper behind him that commands his box. And I think that's why I said Henderson complements it. And he plays the ball out better than De Gea as well. Those two reasons, I think probably after the summer, and I said age and wages are probably going to be a factor in this. You probably would go with Henderson, but I still think De Gea is the best goalkeeper we have at the club. But I think for the good of the team, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, I probably slide slightly more towards Dean Henderson.
You know what? That is a superb point that you've just made there, and I think that's the best way anyone's worded it so far. De Gea is our best goalkeeper, but Henderson is probably the best for this team. That's fantastic way to put it. Before you go then, sum up your thoughts on this game, and as I've asked the previous guests, what do you think needs to happen going forward for us to improve? Is it a signing? Is it something tactical? What do you think?
Definitely, I agree with what Tammy said. Quality was a big. I actually think Ollie got his tactics spot on again today, and I thought that against Arsenal and against Liverpool. Liverpool, we probably could have gone for a bit more. You think back to the Arsenal game, Cavani had a couple of chances today. And I think if Cavani would have played today, we probably would have won. The reason I say that is because we don't have any player, we still don't, that when Cavani's not on the pitch, that makes a near post run. And when you don't have that, we're very easy to defend against. Like I said earlier, we had a couple of, Jan James put some good crosses in, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw. But because nobody makes that near post run, it's very easy to defend against. So I think if Cavani plays, we might get the win. So I don't think it's a tactical thing. We maybe could have gone for it a little bit more. I think had Leicester have won earlier today, then we might have thrown at it a bit more. But I mean, we only made one substitution. It's not like it was a negative one. I wouldn't have taken Greenwood off personally, but it's not like he brought on Matic and we sat back and defended. So I don't think the tactics were wrong. Definitely quality in that final third. We've seen this far too often. Certainly this season, which is strange because last season our record against Arsenal aren't top six, but the big six was really good last season. So it's strange that this season it's just lack of good quality chance creation, I think. And the only way to improve that, I think, is getting more quality players on the pitch that can hold the ball up and play in these tight games. I said a couple of weeks ago, especially with Rashford and Martial and Greenwood, it's fine missing against Real Sociedad in the first leg, Rashford missed a couple of chances, but in that game we create 8-9 clear-cut chances. In these games, you're only going to have 3 or 4 clear-cut opportunities at most. So we need to start taking them, unless something changes dramatically and we start creating 8 or 9 in these games. But I don't see that anytime soon without some major signings. So, yeah, I think we just need more quality in attack, because we seem to defend quite well in these games. We just need to find a way of killing them off.
Quality and chance creation seems to be the topic of the day. Thank you so much, Connor, for coming on.
Worries.
Fantastic to have you. And I hope you have a good night's sleep in that half-constructed room you're in. I'm joking. He told me what it was about before. I just had to call her out on it before. Have fun in that room. Hopefully there's a bed there that's been made for you.
Just about, yeah.
Glad to have you on, mate. Cheers. Everyone follow Connor. Thanks for coming on. All right, we've got one more guest for you. Some fantastic opinions coming in. And this is why I love this show. This is why I love being here. Some fantastic opinions, fantastic people on here. This is the first person. You know what? Thank you, mate. Thank you. This first person in these comments to welcome me back. Thank you, Skeptic. Skeptic ill. I don't know why you're ill. I hope you're feeling better, mate. Thank you for welcoming me back. I feel nice and warm and fuzzy inside. It's nice to be here. Anyway, we've got one more guest, and this is a fellow who I met on one fan channel, and then he followed me to a football club that I was coaching at as a player, and now he's followed me to Wolf United. So I'm wondering whether he's a stalker or he's my biggest fan. I'd like to welcome Callum to the stream. Hiya, mate. You followed me here now. What are you doing?
Just keep following you around all over the place. Sorry, I'm not doing it on purpose.
Oh, bloody hell. How are you doing, mate? What did you make of the game?
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird game, wasn't it? I don't think either team sort of grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, did they? United had the chances, but I guess so did Chelsea. I think in the first half, Chelsea probably looked more like winning it, especially with the run-ins that Giroud was making. Giroud, I should say, sorry. I thought it was pretty amateurish of Lindelof to keep letting him run in like he was, especially when it's his main ability, you could say. But yeah, I thought it was a bit of a weird game, and I think, as the other lads have sort of mentioned, I think it just needed that little bit more quality, to be honest. I think if we'd have had that, if either team would have had that, I think we could have ended up being a much better game than what we were watching anyway. And, of course, it's just dominated by another shocking refereeing performance, really, I think. So it seems to be a common theme of football at the moment, especially in the Premier League, where all we seem to see is the referee stealing the show, and we're not speaking about the football, we're speaking about the VAR or the referees missing decisions or whatever, and it's just getting really frustrating. It seems I'm sick of the same thing every single time we watch a match. But yeah, I don't think we're going to catch City. I think the talk of a title challenge was always a bit, silly. It was always a bit of a joke.
Who was doing that? Bloody hell, guys!
I can't think who was doing that. Definitely wasn't me. But no one thought we were going to be where we were at the start of the season, given the summer that we had and things like that. So I'm happy with where we are. I think it's clear progress. And like Connor just said then, it seems really odd because if you think about how good we were against the top six last year in comparison to this year, something just seems to be a little off. And since January, our attack seems to have just dropped off slightly as well. I know we're the top scoring team in the Premier League, but it seems to be the defence that bailed us out a little bit today. I thought the attack could have done a lot more. Maybe it was because Cavani was injured. It was a bit off, but I don't know. I think they could have done better anyway. Definitely.
In terms of the common comment of this show so far has been quality. We didn't have quality, but isn't that why we have? I know we shouldn't rely on him completely, and maybe that's why the topic has come up of we need more quality, but Bruno didn't have a great game today, and does that show that maybe we're relying on him too much? Like we're just saying Bruno will bring the quality, and if he doesn't, well, we've got nothing else to answer.
Yeah, it is a worry. We do rely on him a lot, and I think today's probably shown he's only human. I think today was the first time he's not had a goal or assist or some form of contribution for quite a while. And it's a worry because you look at Liverpool and them losing Van Dijk. I think United would be in a really similar situation if we were to lose Bruno to an injury. So we need to. That's something that we need to look at and address in the summer. Maybe personally, I think Van der Beek was probably bought to maybe take off the burden of him and possibly replace Pogba. To be honest, it's not quite happened for him yet. I think it still will do though. I think he's a great player, but the onus is constantly on Bruno, and it is sort of time for the rest of the players to, step up a little bit, because he is only human and he is going to have off game. I thought his passing was quite sloppy. His forward passing was just completely off. I didn't really think the midfield had that good of a game today. I think it's shown that we were missing Pogba quite a lot today. Pogba and Cavani today, I think the game would have been a lot different. I think we'd have probably took the win if them two were there. But at the end of the day, he's our best player, he's our catalyst, and we look to him for inspiration. It's just a shame that when he does seem to have an off day, United seem to have an off day, and we need to look at sharing that burden across the whole team. I think hopefully we'll look at that in the summer, and I don't trust the board on anything, to be honest, but hopefully we'll have something this year.
You mentioned the midfield and how it sort of let us down and we didn't really win that battle. A pairing that's been sort of Ollie's go-to was McTominay and Fred, and I thought both of them didn't really have a good game today. Do you think that was down to a fitness thing, because McTominay obviously has come back from injury, Fred's played a lot of games, or do you genuinely think that there needs to be a bit more there? And what kind of player are we missing in that midfield, do you think?
I think we're just missing Pogba. I agree with that, though. I think I was surprised McTominay played today. I was under the impression he was still nowhere near ready to come back in. I thought Fred was a weird one today for me, because he's got so much energy in it, but sometimes he makes needless fouls. His passing was a little bit silly, and if I'm being nice about it, I think his shot on him is shocking. I think he scored 3 goals or something for United.
Yeah, 3. His goal scoring's not his thing, is it really?
Every time I've seen him near the edge of the penalty area, I find myself saying, "Don't shoot." It's so frustrating watching him. When that just went just wide today, I was screaming at the telly going, "Jesus, that's the closest he's ever been to scoring," I think. So, yeah, I think McTominay probably wasn't quite ready today. I thought maybe Matic would have played today. Fred was just a little bit all over the place, which he does tend to have that. I do like him. I think he's a great player, and I think he has his traits. But today was I don't know. He just didn't click today. I can't quite put my finger on it in the midfield. I think, like I say, we really did miss Pogba, and one of those two would be the ones that would miss out. I think Bruno's obviously the number 10, the guy that plays further forward, and then you have Pogba sitting behind him with Fred or McTominay in that final role. So I just think we missed that little bit of quality. I think McTominay was probably still carrying something, and Fred might just be a little tired. I hate using that excuse for footballers, because they play football for a living. How can you be tired? Something just wasn't quite there today, and when that doesn't happen, and then when the forwards don't seem to be performing, we just relied a little bit more on the defence today. I thought Harry Maguire and Lindelof were probably the 2 best players in terms of progressing the ball forwards, and they're our centre backs. And even when they do seem to do that, I find myself shitting myself a little bit when De Gea, Lindelof, and Maguire tend to just pass it between themselves in the 6-yard box. I just constantly find myself thinking that they're going to get tackled and then it's going to go 1-0. But I think Maguire and Lindelof I thought were impressive today. Shaw was okay. Again, I did see a bit of sloppiness for him. A couple of corners he took where he couldn't beat the first man, which as a corner taker you think would be the main thing to do. Wan-Bissaka I think had a great game as well. I think he's been one of our best players this season. Wan-Bissaka, I don't get any hate towards him. Whenever I see it on Twitter, it just seems to be from complete clowns. I just don't understand it myself.
Clowns on Twitter, that sounds odd. Anyway, no, you mentioned that the defence bailed out our attack a little bit, and that the attack wasn't really firing. I did ask the previous guests, and we spoke about Dan James, we spoke about Greenwood, we spoke about Rashford a little bit. What did you make of the attack? Did you like Greenwood up front and how he performed, or did you think Martial could have done better? Did you like James there? What did you make of the attack?
Dan James has probably been our best player the past few weeks, really. So it'd have been hard to drop him, and we haven't really got the options. I think Ahmad is probably a little bit too early for him to drop him, especially the game against Chelsea. I want to see Greenwood as our number 9 personally. I think that's sort of what Ollie wants as well. He's saying he's our best finisher at the club. He doesn't seem to be there yet, but I want to see him as our main number 9 in 5 years' time. I think he could be a great player. We saw it in the under-18s and the under-23s, how good he can be in that position. So I'd like to see him translate that into the first team. It's no secret that Martial's form this season has been bang out. And I think Ollie's starting to notice that as well. I don't know whether he's trying to give him a bit of kick up the arse by dropping him to the bench, but I thought James was quite good. I thought James was really dangerous, to be honest, on the right. He was quite a few runs into the channels where he was putting the ball in. And again, like I say, I think if Cavani was playing today, he'd have made those runs into the box. That, probably would have snatched a goal for us. I think Greenwood was probably just a little bit lethargic in that sense. But again, with the likes of Cavani there, he'll learn from them, and hopefully in the years to come, we'll see Greenwood in Cavani's position. I don't really think Martial would have done any better. Again, I think he's guilty of those runs as well. Sort of just being a bit late and not sort of following the ball in. There was quite a few times today where Mendy spilled the ball. Somebody should be picking up that second ball, that rebound, to go and stick it in the back of the net, and it didn't happen today. Like I say, it was just an odd game, and I think the tactics were probably right. I think the players were probably the correct selection for who we had available. But to be honest, it's just a frustrating 0-0. I mean, it was a penalty, so it should have been 1-0 if given that we put it away. I have no doubt that Bruno would have as well, to be honest. But 0-0 in the end was probably the fairest result. I don't think either team looked like winning it too much at any point in the game. There was dribs and drabs of United going forward and Chelsea going forward. Neither team. There was no risk being taken, and I thought even when Bruno did try to do those forward passes, they weren't coming off for him. So I think it's just a case of we've got another game on Wednesday. I think it is Tuesday, Wednesday. I can't remember now. Just go again, see how we do in that. I think we'll probably pick up the win in midweek.
See how we go then. Cheers for coming on, Callum. Everyone, make sure to follow him, and we'll make sure we'll get him on another show pretty soon. Cheers for coming on, mate.
No worries, mate.
In a bit. Right, so that was all our guests. I will wrap up the show very soon, but before we do that, I want whoever's watching to like the video, make sure to comment what you thought on the game, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And also make sure we get to that like target of 20. We're just short of that at the minute, so I can't enter any of you into any sort of draws yet. Don't know if that's still going. I've not been here in ages, I think we are still doing that. Anyway, final thoughts from me. I thought United were okay. I thought first half we played very well. I said there was a lot of positives in that first half. We were positive. We tried to attack on our own means. We tried to play the game the way we wanted to. We didn't really let Chelsea keep the ball too much. They pressed us high, but we were able to deal with it. We played a high line as well, and Maguire was good bringing the ball out. Victor Lindelof had a good game, and I just thought we had to kill this off, and we didn't really do that. In the second half, we didn't create enough, and when we did, it was a case of a pot shot from Greenwood. It was a very good save from Mendy. And other than that, you can't really name a clear-cut chance. The only one I will say is I was very frustrated that McTominay didn't play a better pass in that final, the final surge on the counter-attack where he had Marcus Rashford and Dan James. And I thought, what, that had to be it. That had to be the killer. And we didn't take advantage. And that sums up the game. That sums up our title challenge, really. Manchester City are on a run of 16 to 20-odd games where they're winning. We're on a 20-run game unbeaten away from home. And, there's a difference between that. The best teams win all those games. We're just being unbeaten. There's a significant difference there. And I think that's where we're at. I can joke all I want about being in the title race. And maybe we still are. You never know. Crazy things have happened. But the essential thing this season was to make progress, build that gap on the teams below us, bridge it on the teams above. And we've done that. There's only one team above us right now. It's clear progress. I think we've got to remember that, and we've got to remember we've taken a big step forward. The next step is to fix these little games. These games where we're not losing, we're now drawing these big games, and we're thinking, hang on a minute, we've played okay. We just need a little bit more to go and kill it off, to win that game. And then all of a sudden, turn these draws into wins, and you're on the brink of a title. These are the games that get you those titles. So definitely, we are making progress. It's a positive to stay unbeaten away from home. But it's not the ideal result. We can't make up much ground to Manchester City now. We play them in a couple of games' time. That's our chance to really do something against them. But otherwise, we've got to continue focusing on ourselves. Build a gap on the teams below us. Try to cement ourselves in second place. Make it our own. And then we can start to look above us. Let's finish the season in second. I'll be happy with that. But we've got to improve on performances like this. And that is what I think is key to take away from this. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to comment your thoughts. Make sure to share the video as well once you're done. And of course, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, it has been an absolute pleasure returning to All for United, and I will see you very, very soon in a bit.